Welcome to another episode of Class Haven Farms. So what are we doing today? Well, it's almost camping season, and as you can see, I don't have a fifth wheel hitch in the bed of my truck. So today we're going to put in my fifth wheel hitch. Before I do that, I got to clean up all these firewood scraps and get the bed ready. So here's my hitch. I use the B&W Companion that has the slider option to it. I've had this hitch for going on 3-4 years now. I absolutely love this hitch in the fact that when you go to take it out, it gives you your entire truck bed. Some of the other manufacturers out there, they have the rails that sit in there. So yeah, you can take the hitch out, but you still have those rails that sit in the bed. I used to have an old Super Duty, and it had those rails when I bought the truck. They were already in there. It was just kind of a pain because if I wanted to go to the hardware store and pick up lumber or pick up things, they were just always in the way, where with this hitch here, you don't have that. And I'll show you guys when we get to my truck just how flat the bed is and how easy it is to install and take out. Now, I will say this, probably one of the biggest drawbacks to this hitch is how heavy it is. I know there's some newer hitches out there that are a lot lighter. And like I said, I bought this 3 or 4 years ago, and actually this section I bought from a friend of mine who was getting out of camping. So this is probably, I would say, at least 5, if not 6 years old. Just the top half of it. But it's got the slider option here. The one thing that I like about the slider option, my truck is a short bed. So in the fact that I ever got into a tight spot, I can always pull this slider out, slide this whole section back to give me a little bit more clearance. So if I have to back into a really tight spot, I don't take the chance of hitting the cab of my truck on the nose of the fifth wheel camper. That was a little bit more expensive of an option for this model, but the way that I looked at it is I'd much rather have the option and not need it than need it and not have it. Again, I've never had to use it. I've had this thing for a couple years now. I've never had to use it, but you know what? Just knowing that it's there and that I have that capability makes me feel a lot better. As you can see, when I store it here in my shed, I have it on a cart so I can move it around. This is just one of those cheap carts that you can get from Harbor Freight or something like that. It doesn't have to be nothing spectacular. I think I got it for like 10 or 15 bucks. Obviously, you know me, on sale. But it just gives you the ability to be able to move it around because it is pretty big and it can take up a lot of room if you're putting it in a shed or a garage or something like that. So what we'll do is I'll go ahead and, like I said, this thing's heavy, but I can cheat. And I have the 790 with some bolt-on pallet forks from Titan Implements. So we'll go ahead and get this thing picked up and get it loaded in the truck so we can get ready for camping season. All right, so one thing that I like to do is before I put this in the bed of the truck, I'll take some carburetor cleaner and just clean up this end here that drops down into the frame, into the truck. The reason why I clean all this off is I always put grease on the inside of that. And what that does is it makes it a lot easier when you go to pick this thing up. Now, I will tell you, usually I have to get my wife to help me actually take it out, but I can set it in there by myself. But taking it out, sometimes you do need a second hand. But if you don't grease this thing up, man, you're gonna fight that thing to get it loose, especially if you have it in there all season and you did a lot of camping, a lot of driving. The thing just kind of gets stuck to itself. So just putting a little bit of grease on there just makes it a lot easier. Like I said, I just get some carburetor cleaner. Ain't nothing better than 2+2. It's probably gonna kill me one day, but this is some good stuff if you're trying to clean some stuff up. So to give you an idea, this is the bed of my truck. And the only thing that I have is this frame for the B&W hitch that actually bolts to the frame underneath the truck. So you can see there's no rails, there's no nothing. It gives you your entire bed. I'll show you what it looks like from up top. And I have the pin in, so I gotta slide the pin out. But that's all it is. This pin, the lever is over on this side, which I'll show you. And you just pull that pin out, this thing will slide out, and then that top section of this hitch will just go down in there, and then you run the pin through, and then there's a bolt on the top, and I'll show you guys how I set all that up. So all I'm doing here is just greasing this inside section here, just to make my life a little bit easier when I go to take this out at the end of the season, or if I need to take it out beforehand. Typically, once I put this thing in there, I'm leaving it in there for the season. Another reason why we got that little 5x8 Tractor Supply trailer that I did the review on, just because I don't have to take this thing out as much as if I need to use the bed of the truck and I don't want to haul a huge trailer behind me. So to lighten this up, I'm going to take this top section off because I can't bring, obviously you can see with the bucket with these pallet forks clamped on, I can't bring it in all the way. I probably could have brought it in a little bit more. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this top off so I can lighten the load up a little bit, and then I'll pick this thing up and slide it over and drop her in. So I ran out of storage space on my phone last night when I was dropping this in. So it's the next morning, this thing's dropped in, and the pin here on the side, right here, I've slidden all the way through. And I'll get up underneath the truck and give you guys a better illustration and show you how that pin goes through. Because I had once before where I didn't get the lock in all the way, and I noticed it when I went to go hook the truck up. So hook the truck up to the camper. So I'll show you just something to look out for. It was when I first, maybe the first or second time I used this thing. So I'll just show you that real quick. Okay, so here's underneath the truck. You can see the pin where that spring is, and I can't really point it out to you guys because I'm trying to hold a flashlight and do this at the same time. But if you look, I guess kind of in the upper right corner, you can see the spring there. That's where the pin goes through. And there's a silver collar that comes down from the top of the hitch, so that top section. You got to make sure the pin goes through that. What I did, that there's a bolt that adjusts that tension, and I'll show you guys here when we get up to the top. But there's a bolt there that you have to tighten up. It tells you that 80 foot-pounds is what you need to torque it at. And what I did was I had that bolt raised up too high, so that collar was never there. So it did catch the bottom part of the shaft, but it didn't catch the top section of the fifth wheel hitch mount. So I just thought I would show that because and I'll see if I can't slide you over so you can see the opposite side. Yeah, you probably can't see that. But I thought I would show that to you because, and sorry if I'm making you guys puke up your breakfast with all the moving around. I
I thought I would show it to you because when I had that problem, I tried to research it, try to figure out what was going on, and ended up having to take everything back out and then flip it over and look at it. So I just thought, for anybody that's having a problem hooking this thing up, maybe that can help you out. So here's that bolt that I was talking about. So you can see it tells you to torque it to 80 foot-pounds. So I'm going to go ahead and get that torque down. The other thing that I like to do is these rubber feet here, I'll clean them up and just run some grease on them, because it just helps with the top section of this hitch. Just helps your ride quality and just kind of gives it some lubrication. So I'll do that, and I'll also show you the grease fitting that's on that top section that's up underneath, in case you didn't know about that. There you go. So all I'm doing here is just cleaning off some of the old grease that I had on there from last season. And then I'll just put some more on there. Like I said, it just helps us to kind of ride a little better. Gives it a little bit of lubrication. Especially get into the summer months and stuff like that, it's good to kind of put some lubrication on this stuff. So this is the bottom half of the top section, and it has a grease fitting in here so that this head can pivot and flex while you're going down the road. So I always like to just run some grease on it, keep it lubricated anytime that I take it off or put it on. Got my lock and lube. If you guys haven't gotten a lock and lube, man, I absolutely love this thing. Just makes life a lot easier when you're hooking up to that Zerk fitting. And just like anything, you just squeeze in some grease till you see it come out on both sides. Yep. There you go. Now to set this in, you're going to pick up on these two handles on each side, and then you set this on top of those pedestals that we just greased. Let go of the handles, and then I grab this because it's really windy and I don't want it to blow my phone over and break it all up. Pardon me for all the jerkiness, but you just run this pin through, put your cotter pin in, and that keeps it from coming up. So you just do that on both sides, and then the top part of your fifth wheel is put together. Now to open the jaws, take this lock off, slide that forward, and now we're ready to back into the camper and hook it up. I will tell you, I like to clean this up and just run a little bit of grease on that, only because there's been times where I've gotten on some campgrounds, some sites, and it's really kind of crooked. I had one time where it almost looked like my camper, I was playing Jenga, and I used every single block that I possibly could because it sloped down on the front and it sloped down on the rear, and it was sitting high dead in the middle where the wheels were, and it was binding, trying to come off the kingpin. So I just like to put a little bit of grease on there just to kind of give it some lubrication. I use one of the plastic shields that goes on the camper, so I don't have to grease this. But if you didn't do that, you would have to grease this top plate. But I don't do that because I don't feel like sticking my arms in grease. So another one of the reasons why I like this hitch is how easy it is to hook it up. All you're listening for is that snap when this jaw comes around and locks in on that kingpin. So now all I'm doing is just locking this thing in. So everything's good. And now I'll hook up all my connections. Did I hit record? I think I did. I hope I did. Guess I'll find out if I did or not. Yep, sure did. All right, so that's it. That's my B&W fifth wheel companion hitch. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Make sure that you hit that like button, comment, let me know what you guys think. And if you haven't already, make sure you subscribe to the channel. With that being said, I'll see you on the next one.